My weekend moved from this amazing.
If you send me the location, then I'll be right there. You make her come check in my bill. No time, no. And my dog is on probation. Another fine,
To this awkward.
Sorry. Jesus. Guy. See how swollen that place is.
Sorry.
Are you seeing how swollen? Jesus.
Sorry.
Yay! God.
Sorry.
Like the guy just carry gun. As in just hits me. Like I don't know that he wanted to break my hand. I don't even understand. I don't understand. If you see the way he hits me the gun,
Sorry.
and he was now using one of his hands to drag, as in, I don't understand. Whether he was kidnapped, if I don't even understand what happened. Jesus. Yay! It was so small. Oh. I'm pushing out my vein.
it was bone. I said, they're not going to it was bone.
My bone. Oh, Jesus. Don't do. It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Thank you.
It's okay. Wait.
A lot of people are becoming victims of this social crisis. I mean, I am so grateful that I didn't end up, you know, not being here or probably telling a different story. I'm very grateful that right now I have the opportunity to talk about what happened to me over the week. If you live in Nigeria and you're not yet aware of the unrest, the serious unrest that is going on in the country, I think you're just one of the luckiest persons right now living in the country. So over the weekend, my kid sister was celebrating her birthday, and of course, as usual, we needed to just go unwind and have fun and all that. And it was really amazing because it was a flawless event. I had so much fun. I had so much fun. I mean, I had so much fun. And I got back at home by 5 a.m. On Saturday morning, and I needed to rush out again. So I rushed out, to go do some drop offs for my business. And, 7 p.m., I was heading back home when all hell broke loose. I'm trying to really understand what happened because the only thing I can remember is I was in a vehicle. We were moving to our destination, and we just got into traffic. And when we got into traffic, within 30 seconds we got into traffic. It wasn't really like a very heavy traffic, but it was like there was traffic. And then when we stopped, I noticed I don't know, there was a silence in the bus, and it wasn't a noisy bus, everything was cool and calm. And just behind me, somebody screamed, "Everybody hide your phones." And I felt it was a regular thing because if you live in Lagos, when you're in traffic, you are not supposed to hold your phone or press your phone or anything. And there are always some nice guys, nice ladies who always try to remind people who probably are pressing their phones. So I thought somebody was probably using their phones, and it was more like, okay, oh, hide your phones when you're in traffic. These bad guys can just come out and do something. So when I heard it, like, I didn't really take it so seriously, but then the warning alerts came again. Everybody hide your phones. It was so loud this time that the only thing my reflex action wasn't to hide my phone because I was wearing something that didn't have pockets in it. So the only thing I did at that moment was to try to see who was saying this thing. Like, I felt it was probably the bus conductor who had just made the announcement. So I quickly turned back to see who was talking, and behold, what I saw was really funny because I noticed almost everybody in the bus had alighted. I didn't even have, like, it happened in a split second. Everybody had rushed out almost immediately. I looked beside me because I was sitting in front. You know how these buses are in Lagos. There's this driver here, and then I was sitting in the middle, and then there was this guy here. And then before I could look by my left, the driver was nowhere to be found. That was when it dawned on me that something serious and terrible was maybe happening or was about to happen. And so in that moment, the only thing I could think of was to run out of the bus, like everybody had just done. And so this guy was sleeping, he was sleeping, and I had to open the door, drag him out, push him out, and he woke up and ran away. So I was literally the last person that was leaving the bus. And as I walked, everybody was running, right? I really did not see like why everybody was running. I didn't really know. I didn't understand what was happening because it felt like everything was happening from behind. So when I jumped out of the bus, my instincts just told me to get into the middle of the road where the lights are. Don't go by the sidewalks because everywhere was dark. And then just as I was moving to the center of the road, this was an expressway. I'm talking about the Lekki expressway. I was at the Lekki expressway, and right there, while I was just trying to find my way in the middle of the expressway, like to run to safety or find some light and stand where there was more visibility. And then I noticed this drag from behind me. I didn't really pay attention to who was dragging me. I just knew I needed to run to safety. And I in my thoughts, I thought it was actually one of probably the passengers who was trying to say, okay, hold on for me or wait for me. But I was too determined to run away to safety that I did not even look back to see who was dragging me. But then this person was really pulling me by the waist. I was wearing a denim and I was wearing irregular tee like what I'm wearing right now. And then there was this really hard pull, like the person was trying to pull me back. And I knew that if I fell back, it was going to be very bad because I landed my head, backwards, and it might be very, very disastrous. So my thoughts, my mind, everything was focused on moving ahead and not getting dragged back. So now one of the things that happened was, and the funny part of the whole story was I was traveling light. I had nothing on me, absolutely nothing on me. The only thing I had was just my phone in my hand and then a bottle of water I was drinking. And then I had my denim, my jean jacket tied on my waist, like my sweatshirt tied on my waist. So when this whole thing was happening and I was feeling the drag, my guts just told me to just loosen up, my waist cloth. And then when I loosened it up, it was more like I let him have the cloth so I could run more freely. And immediately I did that. My clothes fell on the floor. My waist bag, I had a small, tiny waist bag that didn't really have much cash in it. I had it on my waist, so it dropped right in front of me because the waist bag was in front. And then the thing that happened next shocked the living daylight out of me. It shocked like every of my bones, my nerves, everything stood up. And then the next thing I saw, or I felt, because I didn't really see what happened next, I only felt it. I had this very loud thud, like it's a very hard strike on my right hand. And when I looked to see what had hit me, it was a gun. Like somebody had just hit me a gun from behind. It was all shades of crazy. That was when it dawned on me that this was something very serious. And now at that moment, I didn't know what to do. The only thing I could think of doing then was because in my thoughts, I felt if I kept running, this guy who just hits me with the gun might probably shoot me or something. So my instincts told me not to run anymore. The only thing I did at that moment was to move and stand in front of a car that had the lights on. And then I raised my hands. I had just one bottle of water here. And then I had my phone on the other hand. And then I raised my hand like in surrender. But, while I was raising my hand, I actually screamed from the pain of being hit by the right hand. And probably it was that bold step I took, like standing in front of there was this car that had the headlights on. So I just felt it to be safer to stand where people could see what was happening so that help could even eventually come than to get dragged to the dark walkway where anything could actually happen. And at that moment when I stood and raised my hands in front of the car that had the headlights on, and of course I had already screamed, I think that was when this guy had the guts to let me go, because he was already chasing me. I mean, imagine somebody chasing you with a gun on the expressway where we had cars on every of the sides. Like, it was so crazy. It was at that point, I was so scared of the boldness. I was so scared of the attack. Like, I felt if I kept running, maybe something worse would have happened. That was why I had to stand. And so when I stood there, I noticed something. I felt this guy was, because he wanted to, I felt it was an armed robber. I felt he was going to just probably pick the phone from my hand because it was my left hand. I didn't have a firm grip on it. And I felt he was just going to take my phone and maybe probably pick my bag that was already on the floor. But guess what? This guy just ducked his head because the lights, I was standing in front of the car, so the lights were just shining on him probably, because I didn't even dare to look back. And, he had to duck his head immediately, and then he swerved and crossed to the other side of the road, and that was how he disappeared. And at that moment, it was like, that was when I realized what had just happened to me. Like somebody, an unknown gunman, had actually been chasing me with a gun. And I just realized that this person was actually aiming to hit my head. But unfortunately, I was running with my, head forward, that it didn't land on my head, it landed on my arm. And at that moment, I was so grateful that, I didn't feel any bullets. The only pain I had was just on my arm. And that was when it dawned on me, like, this was so serious. At that point, I was still standing in front of this car with the lights on. And the next thing the person who was driving the car did was to swerve his car and then join the other lane and then keep driving. My goodness. I mean, when that happened, like, nobody even asked, nobody even dared to speak up or even honk or even shout or even, like, there was no action or reaction from anybody. Like, nobody was saying anything. And it was when that man took that bold step, like driving off, not even asking if I was okay, because he had seen everything that had happened in front of me. That was when the fear of how unsafe the country was hit me. At that point, there was just this renewed strength in me, and I started running again. I started running in the middle of the express. Even after the traffic had cleared, I was still running in the middle of the express. I mean, I was so crazy, I wasn't thinking right. and I had to run for like 100 miles or something because I ran so fast. I didn't have my shoes on. My shoes, I kind of lost it when I was running. It was when I had run to some extent, and I felt so much, I was so tired and breathless. I decided to sit down somewhere, right in the express, just to catch my breath a bit. And then that was when this good Samaritan pulled over and asked me what happened, and I was too speechless to speak or talk to him. And then he said, "Okay, I saw it all, hop in, let me just drop you off, let me give you a ride." And that was how I got a ride from a good Samaritan, and then we drove off that area. I mean, I'm talking about Lekki Expressway. It was just somewhere around this Lekki Phase 2. Yeah, somewhere around the Chisco bus stop. I think Ikate, Chisco, or Jakonde First Gate. I can't really remember the bus stop, but it was just around one of those places. And I was just super scared at that moment. I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't even want to get into that car, but one of the security things I did was to check inside the car to see if there were people inside. I mean, I just had to check to see what was happening in the car. And then, fortunately for me, I saw something like a military sticker or something, like somebody in the force. I saw the sticker that just showed like the person was someone from the force, and then it kind of gave me some reassurance, and I was like, okay, it's a bit safe, and I got into the car. Now, the other part of the story was we moved just a junction in front, and then we saw these officials that were controlling traffic and everything, and then we alarmed them. We told them that something was happening behind them. They were robbing people and all that. And I was expecting like some kind of response because these guys had their guns with them. I was expecting them to just march forward, and probably when they see like policemen or military coming, probably all the drama that was happening in the traffic would end. But it was so unfortunate that I stood there. I was actually sitting in the car. I sat down in the car for like 10 minutes. We sat there. We spoke to them. I was getting asked stupid questions like, do you know their tribe? Are they Yorubas? Are they Alaye or Agberos? Like, the questions were so dumb that I didn't even bother to respond because I felt they just needed to act fast. But nobody did anything. 10 minutes later, I mean, these guys just made some calls and just stayed where they were, and it was so disheartening. I felt so bad. I felt really terrible. And at that point, it dawned on me that in Nigeria, you are on your own. Nobody cares about you. Nobody is ready to help you. Because at that point when this young man hit me with a gun, and then my bag fell on the floor, my waist bag fell on the floor, and my phone was just at a very easy reach, and he didn't pick my bag nor take my phone. That was when it dawned on me that this dude was not actually trying to rob me. He was actually trying to probably get me unconscious and probably carry me away. Like the kidnapping spree is getting so crazy right now. Like the kidnapping spree is getting so crazy right now that people are just getting picked up randomly and carelessly. Like, that was when it dawned on me that it was not a robbery. Because if it was a robbery, this guy would have picked my bag, my waist bag that had fallen on the floor, that fell on the floor. He would have picked my phone, like grabbed my phone from my hands, but he did not do any of that. He was just busy. He was too busy trying to drag me by the waist and disarm me or probably get me unconscious. That at that point, it really dawned on me that this was like a kidnap attempt. And when I go home, I've been thinking about it. I've been very demoralized. I've been like, my thoughts have been all a bit jumbled. I really don't think if I'm thinking straight right now. But I mean, I actually started having this phobia of coming out. Like, I've had this, like, I've been dealing with this challenge of coming out and dealing with the unrest. I actually lost one of my cousins from this crazy kidnapping thing, and it was really like, we buried him April 22nd. That was on Earth Day, and his story was so crazy. Like, I'm even doing a documentary for him. So during his burial, there were so many tips that were shared about security measures that should be taken by Nigerians because of the unrest in the country, that I paid so much attention to it. And I think these were the things that helped me, during this crisis, while I was going through all this. So, I mean, one of the things that I'm going to make sure that I always do now is to make sure I'm wearing a very comfortable footwear, because your feet is so important, that you must not wear something that, I mean, at the end of the day, I lost my shoes. I didn't even know where I mean, I was too busy trying to save my life that I couldn't even run it. I had to drop it and then just, try to get safe. Like right now, nobody gives it. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares. One security tip you should take seriously is to make sure that at every point when you're going out, somebody knows where you're going, somebody knows your destination, and probably you drop the address or the number of whoever or wherever you're going to. Like this is so important so that you can get tracked and people will know if you get or anybody gets missing immediately. It is super important that you just don't go out when you feel like going out, but that when you're going out, you let somebody know. Even if you don't leave, if you leave alone, you can always call a friend and tell them exactly what is happening with you. This is super important. Don't forget, never leave the house without letting anybody know where you're heading to. Travel light. You must at all points learn how to travel light. Avoid carrying too many things that would probably limit and make you uncomfortable or might not help you to lift yourself, like especially when you know that you're going to stay out a little bit late, like in the night, once it's like 7 p.m 8 p.m. This is super important because I mean when you carry things, I usually travel with so much things that but I was so fortunate that that particular day I had nothing on me. I had nothing on me but just my phone, and then I had just little cash on my waist bag. And it is very important. I mean, one of the things that I'm going to make sure that I always do now is to make sure I'm wearing a very comfortable footwear, because your feet is so important that you must not wear something that, I mean, at the end of the day, I lost my shoes. I didn't even know where I mean, I was too busy trying to save my life that I couldn't even run it. I had to drop it and then just, try to get safe.
So I've had time to really sit down and think about it. Like I did a rewind. I went back in time to really know what exactly, from me leaving the office on Friday, to me hanging out on Friday nights with my girls, to to everything that happened Friday. I mean, it was more like a group outing, so it wasn't like I was some rich kid. Nobody knows me. I'm Mrs. Nobody. Miss Nobody. That's who I am. So, after doing a real recap over the whole thing, it has finally dawned on me that this is our new reality in Nigeria. This is our new reality in Nigeria. Like, people are just coming up and just attacking people. They don't need to know if you're anybody. They just want to bring out everything on you, rob you, probably kidnap you, do something to you. And I think it's really crazy. It's really crazy. And the state of the nation is really at a mess, a big mess. Nigerians, we have to wake up and take our security a little more seriously so that we don't become victims of, unfortunate events. Thank God, I'm so happy. I'm good. My hand is back, and yeah. So, guys, let me know what is happening around you. Is your area safe? What stories have you been hearing? Share with us. Share with me. I want to learn from you. Let's all just be safe together, okay? So, till I see you next time, bye bye and be safe.